Well, with the regionals just concluding in the EU, it's been less than 24 hours, but already the prices have gone absolutely crazy over the weekend. I mean, we still have Seal of Discord, Ezreal Signature Spell, Dazzling Aurora, and so much more that has now been skyrocketing in price. And now, with also having the Vegas regionals coming this weekend, what are things going to start looking like? We're going to be diving into that right now. So this is interesting. Again, one thing that is always very prevalent is that people follow the trends. Plain and simple. They see, hey, a deck did really good over here. Awesome. I want to play it. Basically I want to be able to have a deck that's going to be able to do really well. Awesome. Gonna run it. And that's going to be the hard part because especially when you see something like Ezreal, it is going to be one of the most difficult decks to try to pilot. But so many people are going to hop on that bandwagon and be like, oh boy, let's go ahead and play it. And realize actually this deck is either really difficult or it just sucks. Either way. And then they're at a loss because they've already spent $800 to be able to now build this deck. And that's been something that is a regular occurrence. But, I mean, there was a big question with Dazzling Aurora, and it was a very valid one. With all of this gear destruction that is in Spiritforged now, does that mean that something like an Aurora deck is going to be able to survive? Especially one as powerful as MF Aurora. I mean, we've been able to see that, with the Houston Regionals, it was able to do decently well, and then likewise on the flip side, we were able to see at the SCG Con Atlanta was it Atlanta? No, it was Orlando, that it was able to actually have a very good finish, even winning the Orlando tournament. So, when we go into now set 2, and it's like, oh, well, I don't think it's going to be able to survive long enough. And it looks like, yeah, definitely able to, especially when you have all the card removal that you're able to do, either with hitting a Mind Splitter right off the top of your Dazzling Aurora, which is going to allow you to take out that gear removal, or on the flip side, even just being able to have things like Sabotage in your deck to be able to take out said gear removal. And so now we're going to also see not only just the up of prices for the Ezreal and also Aurora decks respectfully, but also at the same time we're going to see a meta shift where a lot more people, at least especially preparing for Vegas, are going to start going in and side decking those answers that are needed for said matchups. And that's going to be a difficult thing to kind of figure out, especially now a week before everything gets started. So we'll see what's been going on with the prices in general, but it's been rather interesting. And again, we're going to be looking at the 7-day period, so we get to see what it went from last week to this week. And yeah, it is very telling at this point. First and foremost, of course, we have the Arcane Shift. This was originally going to be around $6 to $7 for the longest time. I picked up my 3 copies for just over $6. And now we're going to be seeing it being actually closer now to $35 to $40. This price isn't quite updated just yet. Same with Dazzling Aurora. It was at around $35, $40 for the longest time, especially as we were getting ever closer to Spiritforged, and now it has gone right back up to about $70. Now, there's going to be a lot of people who are also holding on to their Dazzling Auroras that might be seeing this as maybe their last time to sell, so it might also be bringing the price a tiny bit down, not a ton, but a tiny bit, on being able to get it back a bit more manageable. Likewise, we're also seeing Rebukes. Now, of course, this is the foil version, going now up to $12. Originally, you were able to find a regular Rebuke or a foiled Rebuke for around $3 to $5. Now it's up to $12. Downwell, something that has actually been a really good card. I really like also playing it in like Downwell Ezreal. That's one of my favorite decks, even though I'm still trying to figure it out myself, but still, Downwell is going to be one of the best cards to be able to stop the Aurora decks from getting going again. They're able to get out, 6, 7, or, 5, 7 units. Gosh, did I just say 6? Nope, anyway. But they're able to get a bunch of units out onto the board, and then Downwell also says, hey, by the way, all of that goes back into your hand, and normally we have things like Rasas and things like that to hopefully beat out, them trying to set up Aurora again. So this is a great way to get that going. And you're going to see that huge price increase, almost 100% at this point, and it might even be a little bit higher now. Likewise, one of the biggest MVPs of the deck is going to be Vex of that Ezreal deck. Now, Alan did an absolutely banger job of running Vex. He runs 3. And this is something that you don't normally see in a lot of Ezreal decks, or at least you didn't before the regionals. And now that Alan has been able to have the track record of actually winning with 3 of the Vexes being in the deck, it is now very clear why this is such a powerful card, and rightfully so. But not only that, you take a look, Vex was a very cheap card, all things considered, and now it has skyrocketed 514%. Now, of course, this still isn't a very expensive card, all things considered, at around $3 to $5, but even still, considering that it did have such a climb, that's going to be absolutely crazy. And then, of course, Obelisk of Power is going to be one of the big ones of the battlefields. Out of all the battlefields, Obelisk of Power has been the one that's been seeing the biggest increase in price. It's been played in every deck. It's one that you use against, the Draven decks to try to just get that little bit more of a leg up when you're going second against them. And likewise, even just in decks in general, this is the battlefield that you use when going second, because it just gives you that much more of an advantage. Likewise, we also had a really good Victor deck that was able to make it into the top 4. He was so close to making it into the finals. I was cheering him on there because I love Victor as a deck, and it would be so cool to be able to see him in said finals, but barely fell to Aurora, especially with the Aspirant climb in day 3. But now we're even starting to see stuff like that climb with Imperial Decree going up 172%, near $2.50 to $3 at that point. Likewise, the rest of the market is actually kind of coming down. There are those 3 main spikes in general. I mean, we've also seen Kaisa now that's been going up to around $111, and we'll take a look at that here pretty soon. But even on the flip side here, we saw a rise, the signature spell in Azir, that ended up going up to around $45 at the peak. Now it's actually down to around $30 to $28. Also, with Seven Songer, it was near $50 to $55 right when the deck released, or right when the set released. Now it's back down to around 31, which is a lot more manageable. Then also the Grand Plaza even has had a little bit of a decline too. Not only that, the Draven Vanquisher, the alternate art of the card itself, that was near $22, now down to around 10. Tiana Crown Guard has had a big fall from around $18, now down to around 13, and so on and so forth. So again, these prices have been relatively stable. We've even seen spinning axes that have fallen from around $42 now down to about $30. So that's been seeing a little bit of a decline. And even with multiple Dravens being able to make it into the top 8, none of them were able to make it into the top 4. And so that might be something a little telling too. Even though they still had an absolutely great performance, they have the best win percentage in general for outside of mirror matches. And even still, it's a deck that's been kind of falling in price outside of at least the Kaisas, which have been skyrocketing ever more. But I mean, you look at this top selling for the 7-day average, and Vex went from under the radar to the number 1 most sold deck, or most sold card. And I think this is something that we're going to be seeing as an average trend at this point, where it's going to continue to climb for at least maybe another week or two. We're probably going to be seeing a lot more Ezreal decks coming into this next regionals, and rightfully so. But at the same time, I do want to put that with the caveat of how difficult it is to pilot the Ezreal deck. I mean, I got to say, Alan was just so impressive on his game and board knowledge that he was able to get the correct answers to be able to deal with a devastating board when they had, the 3 void or mind splitters with also 2 volley bears, 1 in each battlefield, and he was still able to deal with that board state. So it's like, yeah, great job there, but we got to be careful here in this case. And so I think, yeah, Vex is definitely going to be seeing a lot more play. We're seeing Guardian Angel. We had Aurelia that was able to get 3rd place. Really well done there. And again, Aurelia seems to still be flying under the radar. I don't understand why Aurelia is not up a bit more. And I get a little bit why, because it is a very complicated deck to pilot. But man, does it have a great matchup into Draven in this case, and able to answer and avoid combats, which really hinders Draven in this case, and still being able to have the ability to score a lot of points quickly. So I really like what that is able to do, and you see now Guardian Angel is in second place, even now behind Bellows Breath. Now, Bellows Breath was, at one point, the most sold card in the set. It's still in the top 3. It's still something that we're going to be seeing a lot more of, especially with Victor having such a strong showing. And we're going to see a lot of those cards start to really make their impact. I mean, even Hidden Blade is a part of that deck too, and we'll probably even see a little bit more. Yep, Call of the Week right there, and things like that. Now, likewise, we also have Fizz, Defies, we have Discipline. So yeah, it looks like a lot of people are going after the top 3 decks, which is going to be Ezreal, Aurelia, and Victor alike. Now, we still have some Draven outliers here a little bit and things like that, but otherwise, everything is actually looking relatively normal. Now, on the flip side, we're going to be looking at TCG Player and following the best selling. Now, of course, Seal of Discord. Everyone's running Seal of Discord at this point, and it has had such a spike here. Now selling at $192 for an English copy here. At this point, though, too, there's not necessarily a huge price difference between like the Chinese and the English. It's not necessarily going to be all that different here, but still, it's really crazy to be able to see what all is included here. And I mean, immediately after like one of the Chinese versions, after 160 and 169, immediately goes right back up to 192. Now, keep in mind that you are able to still run the Chinese versions in your deck. That is perfectly allowed. Likewise, we still have also the Chinese Draven at 118, 125. Then down here we have 224 for the Draven, though it has been falling a tiny bit. Now, the one that's been actually going up a ton is Ezreal. Now, he was around $200 just a few days ago, and now has skyrocketed to almost $300. Now, of course, we still have one at $253. Can we add it to cart? We actually can. That's surprising, because sometimes with one of these outliers, they'll say, oh, sorry, refresh the listing. This is not available. But it looks like, yeah, that is available. So still a little bit crazy right there. But then right after that, it's immediately going up to near $300. And I mean, don't get me wrong, this overnumbered card is absolutely gorgeous in person. I love what this card looks like. Now, likewise, even on the flip side, we have Set Brawler. Now, he's been the one that's had such a huge increase, still in the $40. I mean, before Set 2 was coming out, this was down to $18, and that was something I did recommend for people to pick up, and rightfully so. That was something to make a big difference there. But even still, it's had a huge climb. It's been able to hold its price, and it is going nowhere. Now, something that's really surprising, too, is Seal of Rage. Now, Rek'Sai has been following with a bit more popularity. It's kind of that under-the-radar deck, but it has a following that is driving up prices at this point. And I gotta say, I really do like what the Seal of Rage is able to do here. It is a very powerful and fun version, or a very powerful and fun aggro version of a deck that is able to do a lot. And likewise, even here, you're able to see that, yeah, now Seal of Rage is going up to near $30 at this point. Likewise, otherwise, everything else is kind of staying around the same. Seal of Focus, some people run it in Aurelia. You see it in Ornn and decks like that. Ornn is very popular. And so Seal of Focus is going to be staying up there in price. Definitely pretty normal there. Mind Splitter, you're running it in Dravens. You're running it in Ezreals. You're running it in now MF Aurora. And so you're going to be skyrocketing that price up. So now what was originally around $5 to $7 is now up to $13. Likewise with Sabotage, you're seeing at $13 in that case. Draven Audacious has had a little bit of a price increase, but not necessarily nearly as much. He's come down. He was at around $30 originally. Now he's back down to near $20, which is good to see. You are generally running one or two in Aurelia. And then if you are able to go in and see him, I mean, he kind of was in Draven for a split second. He's never been able to really make his impact in that deck, but even still, to see it in Aurelia, it's able to get the job done, and you're able to see what these prices are looking like. Now, likewise, even Skyfall, really good card. It's mainly used in Lucian. He's been seeing a little bit of an popularity there. Very good card on getting things moving. We're seeing $17 at the average price there. Not necessarily a huge increase, but still something to definitely keep an eye on. Now, next, of course, we're going to be seeing, there's the download going up to 18. We're seeing a little bit more of an increase with like Counter-Strike, maybe picking up a little bit of headway. Aurelia is now going for $18, a little bit of an increase there. Even still, pretty healthy market otherwise. I mean, we're still seeing invert timelines go up about $3. Draven Audacious is near the same exact price, which is kind of crazy. The same price as his other version. I mean, literally like $3 more. So if you do want to maybe start running Aurelia, and you're running two of the Dravens, like the third place deck is, then you're able to necessarily get a alternate art one, which has the texturing and everything on it. Looks so good, and you're able to do so for a little bit less, or not nearly as much as what you're paying for other places. Now, Thundersong is still going to be one of the best cards in the deck. We Draven, and even just in red in general, we're seeing it in Kaisa even a little bit, and you're seeing that it's able just to, over the past month, has had a price increase of about $6. Still not absolutely crazy, but something to definitely keep in mind here on how things are going to continue to shape up. You can still get a play set. Oh, looks like everyone just has one unless you want to go Chinese. So yeah, in that case, you're going to be also paying the shipping fee on all of that too if you don't want to go Chinese, and don't blame you if you don't want to. Likewise, at the other side of things, we're even seeing like Victor start to go up in price for the overnumbered card. Again, has had some really good showings going back up to near $125. And if Victor has another good showing over in Vegas, this might be something to consider. I'm definitely considering now taking Victor, though it is sometimes tough depending on the matchup, because there are a lot of ways for Victor's hand destruction to be very real. That's the hardest part. But still, he is a very solid deck. Very impressed with how he was able to be played. Likewise, we're also seeing, Seal of Strength actually at the lowest price. It hasn't necessarily found a need in the meta decks. We're still also seeing Fiora's deck, which is a very powerful deck, all things considered. If you want to build Fiora, now might actually be a good time to be able to do so, especially while her signature spells are being so cheap. If Aurelia happens to have a good showing out in Vegas, again, those prices are going to increase, and the signature spell here could be going up to near $30. So keep that in mind. Same with something like Jax. Jax is a very budget-friendly deck to be able to build. And if it ends up having a good showing, I mean, it did in China, where it ended up going up to 8th place at a regionals. It didn't necessarily see that price action over in English, but still, if it has a good showing, it very well could. Otherwise, everything else is actually fairly normal. We even have Aurelia again, the Fervent. You're able to get that one for $24, which is absolutely crazy, because if you take a look at the original one, as you recall, it was around $18 there. So again, Aurelia generally is only running one, maybe two. So if you have Aurelia and you're wanting to run it, well, and you want to have a cool textured card, yes, the other overnumbered one looks really good. I love the coloring on it, the texturing on it. It is a heck a ton more expensive, but because of that, and so many people wanting to collect that instead of this one has definitely fallen in price there. So I really like the opportunity to be able to collect some overnumbereds while they're still actually near the same price. Now, Set, again, has had some really good performances, all things considered. I mean, in the China, we were able to see Showstopper and Set be able to thrive well as a deck. Going to be curious to see if he's able to continue to do so over on the English side of things. But he was able to get 12th and 16th place at a regionals over in China. That's a pretty big deal, and something to keep in mind. Might be a little bit under the radar there. Also, same with Jinx, actually had some really cool broadcasts over the weekend. And so we'll see if that's going to be going up in price. But again, people are trying to probably go for those metal cards, especially something like a Jinx Best of Metal card. You're running essentially Miracle Draven as Jinx. The only reason that you're necessarily doing that is, yes, sometimes her legend ability is going to get you a little bit of aid, but generally it's not. And so if you are going for a metal card, you're not probably going to be getting one for Draven, but if you run Jinx and you end up having a good run, you're probably going to be picking up that card. So really fun to be able to see that kind of action in that case, and so we'll see what ends up happening. But everything else is kind of normalized here. Kathy and Rain continuing to fall. What was originally near a $70 card, now down to $14. And keep in mind, this is also in order of best selling. And so very interesting to see. Fizz has had a little bit of an increase from about $1 now to about $2.50. Rasa is just, I mean, it's been fluctuating, but I mean, it hasn't been necessarily skyrocketing up to those astronomical prices yet. I mean, it could be doing the same thing as what you're seeing with like Mind Splitter, but Miracle Draven, I mean, it had some really good showings. It was in the top 8 in 2 places. I think I know Prismaticism was running Miracle, and one other Marcus was running Miracle. And both of them were able to make it into the top 8. But again, still falling a little bit under the radar here, even with such a powerful showing. And Rasa is one of the big cards there that is able to make such an impact. Now, of course, Marcus was only running 1 in his deck, which is kind of interesting to consider. But even still, really cool to be able to see what all was going. But again, the big thing to keep in mind with a lot of this is people like following the trends. Doesn't necessarily mean that these are going to be the best decks. I mean, Aurora, now the meta is going to be adjusting to the meta. People are going to be picking up Divine Judgments again, and if you're running yellow, well, guess what? You're running that Divine Judgment. Fiora could very well be going now here with Divine Judgment being able to get things moving as an answer. That could be making Fiora a little bit more meta-relevant. You're going to be maybe seeing Downwell in any purple deck to be able to prepare. Draven might be starting to run some of that. So we'll see what ends up happening. But again, I'm going to be very curious to watch what happens with the pricing this week, especially as we get close to Vegas. And if Vegas has some insane showings, I'm going to be very watchful on what's going to be happening here, because guys, it could get crazy. If we have another deck that is able to make it to the top, if we have another surprise meta shift, things are going to get crazy here. Now, I'm not going to be saying like Rumble is suddenly going to be making it into top 4. If it does, you heard it here first. It's not going to. But if it does, still pretty crazy. But all things considered, this is still relatively of a healthy meta. And again, I think while we are seeing a spike right now, after this, we don't have any other regionals that I can recall until, April? And so that's going to be a little bit of time for the market to die down, for things to settle down, and then we're going to get ever closer to the next set, which is going to be releasing in May 8th, if I recall correctly. And so definitely something to keep in mind there. So a lot of fun to be had. You don't have to still break the bank to be able to play the best of the best decks. There's still a lot of really fun decks that you're able to play, and that is something to definitely keep in mind as we go into the rest of this meta. So anyway, guys, with that being said, again, don't worry about it. I feel sorry for the people who want to play Ezreal, and now it's like, well, now it's just completely out of my price range. And yes, it might have had already been so. I mean, you saw Ezreal. It was originally between $50 on opening day, and then it shot up to about $60, $62, and now it's around $58. That's rough. And then likewise, on the flip side of that, we also have Kai'Sa. Now that is up to 111 again for the regular Kai'Sa. I mean, heck, even the alt art Kai'Sa is pretty crazy here. And so, I mean, heck, let's actually go back to that real quick. That's something that we didn't necessarily talk about here. Kai'Sa Survivor now has skyrocketed right back up. I mean, you still have the Chinese versions. This guy has 16 sales. That's always maybe a little bit hesitant, but people have to start somewhere. But now you're seeing $100 again for the English versions here. And then when we get over to the flip side and go to the alternate art Kaisa, you're going to see that spike going up to now $111, $119 at that point. And so, again, we're going to be seeing that fluctuation. We're going to be seeing what happens. And if Draven now ends up winning in Vegas, we might even see Kaisas go up even further. That's gonna be the tough part. Is unfortunately, if you do want to play these types of decks, that is going to be you biting the bullet, because these cards just aren't necessarily going to come down in price. Kaisa is probably going to be meta relevant until rotation. It is just such a powerful card, just in the fact that it can be accelerated out and guaranteeing you a card draw, because normally when you do accelerate it out, you know that you're already going to be winning the battle. You don't accelerate Kaisa out to trade in necessarily, and so you're going to be netting you a +1 on card draw and a point for essentially 5 and a power. You know, a lot of people will take that any day. So definitely something to keep in mind. Such a powerful card. Very interested to see what is going to continue to happen, especially since Kaisa didn't necessarily have the best showing here in the EU regionals here, which was really interesting. So we'll see where this meta continues to shape up. It's going to be very interesting to see. Don't necessarily freak out about these prices just yet. Again, I think after the Vegas regionals, things should really start calming down. But what's probably ending up happening is a lot of people are saying, well, this deck just did really good. This deck just did really good. I'm about to go to Vegas and compete. I need these cards right now. We'll see. But again, you know, some of these might not even get to people in time by the time they're traveling. In fact, they probably won't. So something to keep in mind. I mean, we're leaving on Thursday to drive down to Vegas, where I will be competing with a bunch of my Utah friends. Really excited to be there. Really fun to meet a lot of you there. We're going to be preparing for that. Still deciding what deck I'm trying to play. We've brought 3 or 4 decks so far to my locals, just to see how they feel, how I play them, and how they all in all perform, and then I'll be making my decision there. So a lot of fun to be had, something to keep in mind. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for now. Let me know what you think about these prices. I'm not happy about them necessarily, but it makes sense as to why we have this type of price action. It sucks. It is what it is, though. And we'll adjust and see what we can do from here on out. But until next time, guys, have a good one.